Hello everybody, my name is Rick Goodman and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about how getting strong has changed my physique and how that has affected my life, specifically with attraction and making friends. So if that interests you, just stay until the end of the video and I think you'll get some really great information and content out of this. Let's dive right in. So, for starters, let's dive in immediately to why I think it is important to build a great physique. Obviously, everybody's gonna have to have their own opinion on the matter, but personally, the reason why I wanted to get a good physique, and I'll be honest, is because it's seen as superficial, but I wanted attraction from girls. I wanted attraction from the women that I want to get with and date, you know? And when it comes to being physically fit, a lot of people think it's superficial to want to be attractive to the opposite sex. I don't know why. No, I know why. It's because they don't want to be looked at as shallow or, again, as superficial. But it's not a bad thing to want to be attractive to people who you want to be in your life. The first thing that I'll say is that when it comes to being attractive, I'll talk about specifically girls. A lot of women will try to tell me, and I've even had this, they'll try to tell me that, oh, I don't like guys with abs, I don't like guys who have like huge muscles and stuff like that, I don't like guys who are super bulky. In some cases it's true, but as a general whole, it's not. A lot of women find it very attractive when you have a V taper, you have broad shoulders, big arms, and yes, strong legs and glutes. And the thing is that a lot of people, I believe, in the modern day try to cope and say, no, I don't actually want this, I don't actually want that. And it should be fine to want to have attraction from the opposite sex. Because eventually think about it this way. The first thing we obviously see on a person is their physical attractiveness, right? Then after a while, that's when you develop a personal attraction to them because you start to learn and grow and even in a lot of cases love them, which is totally fine. It's just how life is. And yes, we're visual creatures. That's one of the reasons why we have eyes to begin with. We have to see the world around us because we have to know exactly what we're interacting with. And the easiest way to tell how people typically are, not always, is by how their physique is portrayed. If you're really fat and overweight and really sloppy looking, you don't trim, you don't cut your hair, you don't shave, you wear very sloppy clothes, the world's gonna have an image of you that way, and that image is gonna be that this is most likely a guy who's not gonna be able to take care of himself, and if he can't, and a lot of women think if he can't take care of himself, he's not gonna take care of me, he's not gonna put in any effort with me, because he doesn't even put any effort within himself. The next thing is that when it comes to this, I found it actually a lot easier for me to get jobs because of the fact that I was physically fit and because of the fact that I could back it up. So the thing is that when you're physically fit, it obviously shows that you have some form of discipline. You have the discipline to do self-care, which is, physical fitness. If you look physically fit, a lot of jobs want their employees to be disciplined. They want their employees to be somewhat ambitious. And they want, especially if you're doing a job that requires a lot of physical labor, you want people who have the capability to lift heavy objects and to carry them around places and to do whatever they need to do. That's one of the reasons why I got jobs at places like Togo's and TGI Fridays, and at my last job in the aerospace industry was because, yes, my mom got me in, but the thing is, a lot of people's family members were able to get them in, and a lot of people, for example, there was one guy who told me the story of another guy and his son. The man's son, I don't remember this guy's name, as I never actually met him, but the man's son, the man who originally worked at this job, he was apparently great hire, great employee, really disciplined. But the problem is that his son got in and he didn't really have the same ambitions or disciplines as his father. And when his son got in, he was apparently coming into work late, skipping shifts, I guess, or not doing the activities he was supposed to. And he was going into the stock room and sleeping in the back where people couldn't find him, Eventually somebody did find him and he was eventually let go because he was too lazy. And the way he was described is the way I've seen other employees who were described that way, where he was basically fat and nasty, not to be offensive to anybody, but that's how it was, is that he was apparently fat, nasty, and didn't take care of himself well, and that was reflected in his work. And you can usually see that from the second you meet somebody. You can usually see that as in the first, obviously, like millisecond that you see them, but after that you realize, okay, this guy clearly isn't in great shape, so why would I even bother with hiring him? I, on the other hand, while I wasn't as big as I am now, I definitely had a nice physique. And you can tell that by the suits I wore, which is also another benefit of getting into good shape, is that the suits you wear and the outfits you wear you can fit into them a lot easier and they look nicer on you. So I pulled up into the first day of that job after I was officially hired and, well, let onto the job essentially. And the thing is that when that happened, I noticed that when I was in the group of other hires, I was wearing my nice red V-neck from H&M that is pretty form-fitting. At the time, I was still pretty skinny, but I had a nice built physique, and I could see that everybody else was very much slobbish. You know, slobbish. I don't even know if they were sloppy. Yeah, I don't even know if slobbish is a word, but they were basically, again, fat and nasty. They had a skinny fat physique. They were just straight up fat, or I don't think I remember seeing anybody who was actually skinny. I noticed that all these people, all these men, they're just not very fit. And then I realized most of them were actually gone within the first few months. They never got officially hired on. Unlike me and one other guy he was kind of out of shape at the time, but I noticed later on it seemed like he got into better shape. But it seemed that most people who were the way I described, they were very out of shape, they were very disgusting, they did not take care of themselves. They were out of there within the first few months because they didn't have the actual discipline to stay with the job. You know, and again, that is one of the things that was very reflected into my self-image through working out, and because of that I started to embody that mindset and that lifestyle a lot better. And other people can see that obviously through my physique initially, but they can see that through my work over time. You know, even a couple of the girls who were about the same age as me at that job, I'm not going to say any names, but I noticed they were giving me stares, or they were giving me stares, they were getting close to me purposely, like, you know, teasing me and making jokes and stuff like that. And it's because, and I don't say this to, you know, brag or anything, but it's one of those things where as a person, but as a man specifically, if you want the attraction from the type of girls that you want, you definitely have to build yourself up to being the type of man you want to be. And the best way, in my personal opinion, to start off that process is by getting your physique in shape and making sure that you're wearing nice form-fitting clothes and and taking care of yourself. You know, get your hair cut every once in a while, whatever style that you want, so that it at least looks nice on you. Make sure that, you know, you don't have a ton of fat, but if you do and you're just naturally a big person, then make sure that you at least fill out and wear the right type of clothes that will accentuate your best physical attributes as possible when you're first working out, or when you're trying to look more attractive to people. The next thing is that when I used to get picked on in school. I actually mentioned this a bit in my fight training video, and one of the things that I realized with it is that before I was 18 and before I really took Muay Thai seriously, I would work out, I would, you know, be in shape, I would do martial arts, and I would run, I would do physical activities with people such as calisthenics, weightlifting, playing games such as basketball, maybe even football every once in a while. But I was not very built. I was not very built up the way that I am now. And even now, I'm not very built, but you have a certain walk or carry about you when you start to build up your physique. And I mean, it can even straight up change the way you walk. I noticed that my friend Matt, when he started getting really into shape, he started walking kind of like kind of almost like a bear in human form. And I find that funny because I was always lighter than him. Now we're roughly the same weight, but when I packed on a lot of weight, I was also walking kind of the same way, where you sway a bit more, and your back, especially if you work out your back, chest, and shoulders, you start to walk again almost like you're loping around like a bear. That calm, cool, collective attitude that bears, lions, and bigger animals tend to have about themselves, because for the most part the smaller animals are not going to bother them because they're too big, they're too dominant, they're too powerful, you know. And everybody else knows it. That's the whole thing with aura with animals such as bears. If you see a grizzly or a brown bear just walking around, you're like, damn, that thing is obviously strong, even though they don't look it. Back on point though. So I noticed that when I started packing on muscle about the time I was 18, that's when I really never got into fights again. I've not been in a fight ever since I was about 16, I want to say. And obviously I've done sparring. I've had, you know, times where I've gotten into like verbal altercations with people, but I haven't gotten into an actual physical fist fight in a long time. And I think that's because the bigger I got, the stronger I looked, and the more I trained martial arts, and especially now with powerlifting, where I can theoretically, I haven't done this, but I could theoretically punch somebody and KO them in one hit, especially the average person who doesn't do anything. The more I notice that people give me a certain level of respect when I come up to them. Not everybody, not all the time, and it's not in the same way. And I don't say this like people are kissing the ground that I step on, but it's one of those things where, for example, I'll tell you a little story. There was one time where I was with my parents and we went to downtown LA to this place called Ross Cutlery. And it's a place that I like to go to with my dad every once in a while when we get, you know, some really cool knives or multi-tools and stuff like that. I walked with my mom over to the ticket stand when we parked, and my dad was still over at the car. There was a guy who I'm going to assume I don't assume, I know he was a crackhead because I saw him do it. There was this guy who was a crackhead who walked up to us, and in this almost begging type of attitude he had about himself, where he went up to us and he said, he was like, hey, can I, do you guys have anything for me? Can I do, he sounded weak, My mom turned around. My mom's not a weakling, she turned around and looked at him and she said, nah, man, I ain't got nothing for you. I looked at him and I said, yeah, me neither. And this was at the time where I started building myself up. And I noticed that once he walked away from us, he started walking over towards my dad, who was at the car and had his back turned because he was putting stuff in a bag. And I was looking at him the whole time, even though my mom was focusing on the ticket. The closer he got to my dad, I didn't know what he was going to do. I said, hey, Dad, and he turned around and he looked at him. And the guy looked at him for a second. I think he had, hey, can I have something? And then, my dad said, no. And then he walked off from him. The reason I bring this up, though, is because the key thing that happened immediately after this was we went into the store and came back out. And there was a family of 4 or 5, if I remember correctly. And this same guy came up to them. I guess they also told him no, but this time he started yelling at them. He was like, give me some money or some shoes or whatever he said. And this family looked kind of scared and they were walking away. They were trying to hide it, but you can tell that they were a bit unnerved by that. So they walked away. You could see that look of fear on their face to some extent. And I just thought, man, you can tell by the way that we look that we are not people to be trifled with or messed with. And it's funny because most people do not ever get that in their lives. Both of my parents are ex-military. My dad used to be he wasn't a pro powerlifter, but he used to do powerlifting when he was younger. He used to do football. He also did Shotokan karate and Aikido. And then my mom just grew up on a farm in Texas. She with 3 brothers and her dad. And they were on a farm where they had bulls and they would shoot like coyotes. They had armadillos and stuff. I think it was armadillos. and other animals trying to come up and eat their crops and attack stuff. And so, you know, they both grew up pretty tough. And because of that, I think that gave me a very good self-image when it came to conflict with people. But the thing is, being a naturally skinny kid, I never really had the ability to fight off opponents very well because I couldn't really draw enough force. But when you're bigger and you clearly carry yourself with that confidence of, I will beat the hell out of you if you try to step to me, that is when your life completely starts to change. You'll notice that a lot of people do not mess with you the same way, and they do not, a lot of the time I've noticed they don't even try to bother you because they're basically too afraid to do so. So the thing is that building up a good physique will definitely change your life, because you'll start to see that the world will start to treat you differently if you build up your physique. Granted, this doesn't always work for people. There are actually a lot of people, especially that's why I run the risk of making this channel and building my Instagrams, because if I become technically famous, or however this channel goes, you know, and people see this, they might actually try coming up to me and trying to start a fight. You know, this doesn't work for everybody, but I have noticed that a lot of people, especially martial artists, and other people don't know they're martial artists, like my coaches, a lot of people will come up to other people around them and they'll try to fight them or try to confront them, but they won't try to confront the person who just has that energy about them or that physique where they look like they will beat you if you try them. So to finish off this video, what I'll say is, if you want the world to look at you a certain way, you have to carry yourself a certain way, and you have to see yourself a certain way. And the best way to do that is you can start working out to build up your self-image, or you can build up your self-image by working out. I think that was the same thing. Start working out by building your self-image, or you build your self-image by working out. Either one can help you, but it's basically a ping pong effect or upward spiral, is that they'll bounce off of each other. And honestly, the stronger you are, the more you'll carry yourself like you're strong, which will build your self-image to thinking you're strong, which will cause you to become more disciplined to get stronger, and it just keeps going up and up and up. This can happen with a downward spiral as well. But ultimately, the key to getting attraction, to getting a better self-image, to gaining confidence, is to do things that will make you confident, but to treat yourself as if you are the type of person who deserves those things. Not in a narcissistic way, but in a way that can truly amplify or improve your life. So that's it for today's video. If you like this video, make sure to comment, like, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.